There are all kinds of hazards in the workplace, especially in industrial settings. Think about all the ways we harness energy in a facility or warehouse, from heavy equipment, machinery, and power sources to steam valves and internal wiring. The potential for unexpected startup is a real possibility. Any source of electrical, mechanical, pneumatic, hydraulic, kinetic, chemical, thermal, or stored energy is considered hazardous energy and must be included in an energy control program. Every year, about 3 million workers service equipment and face injury if a Lockout Tag Out energy control program isn't implemented. 3 million people. And these workers are your friends and your family. Craft workers, electricians, machine operators, and laborers are the ones exposed to the greatest risk. We aren't talking about a paper cut here. Crushed limbs, amputation, lacerations, fractures, shock and burns, even death are just a few of the risks of injury if Lockout Tag Out procedures aren't followed. If you think it's not that serious, just take a look at some of these numbers. 120 fatalities and 50,000 injuries are prevented every year by using proper safety procedures. Did you know that it takes the average worker 24 days to recover after being exposed to an accidental release of energy? Those numbers just don't seem like anything to laugh about. Let's look at a couple of standards that OSHA has in place to control hazardous energy sources. 29 CFR 1910.147 and 29 CFR 1910.333 addresses the practices and procedures necessary to disable machinery or equipment to prevent the release of hazardous energy. 29 CFR 1926.417 sets forth requirements to protect employees that work on electrical circuits and equipment. 29 CFR 1910.333 is the section that requires workers to use Lockout Tag Out and states that the Lockout Tag Out devices must be durable, standardized, and substantial. Lockout Tag Out is needed when workers must remove or bypass a machine guard. It's absolutely necessary to use Lockout Tag Out anytime a worker must place part of their body into a point of operation or danger zone. Procedures for Lockout Tag Out must also be in place anytime a worker must service or maintain equipment, including constructing, installing, setting up, inspecting, modifying, lubricating, and cleaning. Alternatives to Lockout Tag Out include ANSI Z244.1-2014. This is a standard that outlines certain measures that must have been created when standard Lockout Tag Out is not feasible when the energy source cannot be shut off. These approaches may include reliable control circuitry, blocking movement, safe worker distances, and use of shielding tools. It's so important that these alternatives aren't used unless the standard is understood completely and not used inappropriately. Here are some of the most common Lockout Tag Out violations and what you need to do to avoid them. Lack of an energy control program. Employers should establish written programs with energy control procedures. Employees must be trained on application, usage, and removal of energy controls. Employers also must do periodic inspections at least once a year. Employees are not properly trained. It's crucial to train employees on how to recognize hazardous energy sources, understand the type and magnitude of the source, and how to isolate and control the energy. Employees should be instructed on the purpose and use of energy control procedures. For instance, how to apply and remove Lockout Tag Out, how to verify a machine is isolated from the energy source, and how to safely release any stored energy. It's not enough just to train workers who work with certain machinery or power. You have to train all employees that are in the vicinity. That means teaching them about the energy control programs and any important restrictions. And please, make sure any outside contractors are familiar with the Lockout Tag Out program you have in place. All too often, failure to communicate is what leads to disastrous results. Not doing regular inspections. Make sure you visually observe your energy control procedures. It should be common sense that Lockout Tag Out procedures need to be tested. Do it regularly and always document the result of your inspection. How do you know you and your workers are on the same page unless there's a paper trail? Inadequate procedures lead to injury or loss of life. Always make sure to review the facility, checking for all energy sources, including equipment that's been repaired or refurbished. Written documentation of your program should always include a statement of intended use, steps of the energy control program, and the testing requirements. Communicating clearly keeps everyone on the same page. The reality is when an energy control program isn't followed to the letter, people get hurt or killed. A Florida man, Mark J., was crushed to death while cleaning the bottom of an elevator shaft. Both companies on the job site failed to coordinate their Lockout Tag Out procedures. Properly written Lockout Tag Out procedures may have saved this man's life, and their family wouldn't have been told their loved one won't be coming home. Some workers still think a little shortcut here and there isn't a problem. Look, we get it, there are deadlines in every job, but dangerous shortcuts are no way to make up for lost time. To save time, many workers have been seen using the wrong locks and tags, or using and removing someone else's locks. If that doesn't sound bad enough, A common violation is having duplicate keys for Lockout Tag Out. That kind of defeats the purpose of having a program in place at all. Common miscommunication and failure to document is often seen during shift change, so make sure that's on your radar too. If you fail to identify each and every one of these hazards on a job site, you risk your company, your bottom line, and most importantly, your workers' lives. Take the risk seriously and avoid some of these common violations. Always do your research and follow OSHA guidelines. Here are some handy steps to follow when applying and removing Lockout Tag Out. When applying lockout, number 1, prepare for shutdown. Number 2, notify affected employees. Number 3, shut down equipment. Number 4, isolate energy sources. Number 5, apply lockout devices. Number 6, release stored energy. Number 7, do your verification testing. When removing lockout, 1, remove tools and replace guard. 2, check for employees. 3, remove lockout. 4, notify affected employees. 5, restore energy. There are 3 words to remember in Lockout Tag Out: test, try, verify. The best offense is always a good defense. As the person responsible for making sure workers are safe, it's important. No, scratch that. It's the law that you make sure that a working system is in place. It's the law to make sure that workers know the rules and you're regularly inspecting those procedures. Having the right safety equipment and procedures in place will save you money in the long run. Do your part and create a Lockout Tag Out game plan for your team. If you need assistance choosing the right safety products for the job, don't hesitate in contacting a qualified representative to discuss your specific needs and help you come up with a game plan. Choosing the right PPE for the job may just save a person's life one day. Let's not leave it to chance.